Oh, okay. I've seen his face, but I couldn't remember who it was. Okay.
Hey, what's going on? As far as I know, it's on my calendar. Unless something else arises, but I'm planning on being there. I just can't even imagine.
All right.
6:30.
Yeah. I can't remember where I was. I wasn't there.
Right. Yeah. I know you are.
She wanted you to know that. All right, well.
Nice meeting her.
Oh, he came up?
No, he did. He started the computer.
He's scary. He's the kind of guy I was like, what?
6.
Mm.
I think so. What time is it on for? I think so. Thinking he just talks to turn it off. Don't let me forget. That's who it
We ready, sir?
Yeah.
9945. That's my land.
All right.
Good evening. Can I have attention, please?
I'll send it to him.
Would everyone please take their seat? We're about to begin the Common Council meeting. I have public service announcement in case of an emergency. Would everyone please exit the chamber, proceed down the left or right stairwell to the ground floor, and exit the building to allow for emergency personnel to enter. Thank you very much. We have a sign-up sheet at the podium. Anyone wishing to address the council at the public speaking portion of the meeting, please sign up at the podium. Okay, could everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. Now call this meeting to order. Please have a roll call.
Alderman Ventura Morel.
Here.
Alderman Coop.
Here.
Alderman Scott Childress.
Here.
Alderman Rita Worthington.
Here.
Alderman Carey.
Excused.
Alderman Davis.
Here.
Alderman O'Reilly.
Here.
Alderman Shabbat.
Here.
Alderman Schott.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Can I get a motion to dispense with the minutes of the previous meeting and approve same?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved, 8-0. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the general bills?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's adopted, 8-0. We now enter into the public speaking portion of the meeting. Council has set aside a 30-minute allotment for this purpose. Please give your name and address at the podium and direct your comments to the council chair, for the alderman cannot engage in debate. Thank you very much. First speaker, please.
Paula Wisniewski.
Good evening. My name is Paula Wisniewski. I live at 43 Sheehan Court, which is part of Stuyvesant Charter on Flatbush Avenue. I am speaking tonight as a rider of the Kingston City school bus. Oh, been there, done that. Kingston City City Bus. I get on the 8 o'clock city bus in the morning to get to work at 9 o'clock, which goes from Stuyvesant Charter all the way around until I get to St. James Street at 10 minutes to 9. So yes, I'm on the bus for 40 minutes sometimes Lately, I've been getting a ride. I'm urging the council, knowing that the vote is tonight, to please vote no. I understand that this bus will not go into the complex of Stuyvesant Charter, Colonial Gardens, and Birchwood. There would be more people here tonight, but we all take the bus, you know, and I was lucky enough to get a ride. I wrote some notes, sorry. In the last few years, when I've approached this council, I've offered to meet those of you in the plaza to take a ride with me on the bus. The A bus, the B bus, and the C bus. And in those 8 years, no one has ever came to partake with me. So even though you might not be able to take this back to committee again and again and again, to keep looking for better solutions, maybe I'll be calling you to get a ride to work in the morning, because I, as someone who needs to be up and out the door, I'm able to do that. But if you look at where I am, the people who take the bus, use their walkers, use canes, no one's going to be able to walk out onto Flatbush Avenue. No one's going to be able to walk over the railroad tracks. If nobody, my alderman is well aware that there is no sidewalk on Flatbush Avenue. Someone is going to get hurt, and it's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Dan Proctor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have some handouts here. Thank you. So I'm Dan Proctor. I'm here representing a new organization called Fleet Obsolete. It's the PT Boat Restoration Project, which is commencing down in the Cornell building here along the Strand. I'm a commander, United States Navy retired. I'm also on the board of trustees for the museum, the Maritime Museum here in town. I'm also a boat builder and a carpenter, and I have a consulting company called Proctor Robbins that deals with organizational design for startups. So with that pedigree, I've come into contact with Robert Iannucci, who owns a substantial portion of land down on the Strand, and is really the visionary behind this Fleet Obsolete. You know that there has been substantial amount of shipbuilding work along the Hudson River through the generations, and the skills that were learned by those craftsmen, now that there's not a lot of boat building, are starting to dissipate. So the purpose of this restoration activity is to not only restore boats, the PT boats, but it's really to capture some of these missing crafts, the missing skills, those skills that are starting to drift away, and to celebrate boat building here along the Hudson River. To really burnish that point, we would like to really focus on one particular class of vessel, and that's the PT boats, some of which were built here on Elko, at the Elko shipyard. And the PT boats, or what they're called as patrol torpedo boats, were significant in World War II. Pound for pound, they destroyed more capital ships, capital targets, than any other class of ship in the United States Navy. They were very small, had frames made out of laminated wood, and they had a hull of 2 layers of Honduran mahogany. Yet they could go 41 miles an hour, or 41 knots rather, because they had Packard engines, 3 huge Packard engines. So they're very significant, and they were technologically advanced at the time. There was 200, now it's down to 9 PT boats left in this country. We have 4 of them here down at the Cornell building. And so our intention is to restore those boats and at the same time to invite the public to participate in that process, and then capture, like I said, the skills necessary to restore those boats and really have the public understand those skills and understand the significance of this boat in World War II. So I've been asked to be the executive director of this project, and I am excited about it, and I feel it's going to be very good for this community in a variety of ways, culturally and economically, and intend to proceed at full force. So, flank speed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Bill Knowles.
My name is Bill Knowles. I live at 72 Hurley Avenue here in Kingston, and I'm president of the Volunteer Firemen's Hall and Museum. The museum is housed in the 1857 Wiltwyck Fire Station. The fire station stands as a sterling example of the architecture that makes Kingston a great place to live and visit. The museum provides a wonderful cultural experience for all visitors that come for a tour. These visitors are a very diverse population from all over the world. And they come to learn about the history of firefighting, the environment of a firehouse, and also the history of the city of Kingston. After all, the last vote that sent the incorporation request to the state was taken in the second floor of the firehouse. The museum is unique in many ways, especially in the fact that it's child-friendly. If you've been at any of our events, you'll see lots of little red fire hats on lots of kids and some of their parents. So, that being said, what I'm here to do is request that the members of the Common Council approve the issuance of the bonds for the money to begin the restoration of the Wiltwyck Fire Station. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Joseph DeFalco.
Tin Man?
Thank you, Mr. President. Joseph DeFalco. I live at 66 Glen Street. Okay. I've been accused of probably not accurately presenting the figures, but I'm pointing the light in the right direction. Let's talk about now you want to create an IDA when you already had a KLDC, which in my opinion flopped, and you have a debt massive, looming over this city's heads that's coming due in the next, 2 years, okay? And now you want to create an IDA. Let me give you some reason, Mr. President. When the alderman of the 3rd Ward was interviewed by the newspaper, his reasoning why the IDA is going to be a good thing, because, quote, we will have more control over what is done. Well, let me tell you something. I attended all of the IDA hearings for the Osmond Towers and the Governor Clinton. And I'll tell you something, John Murrow, the chairman, was on the ropes, because there were more people there advocating not to allow this pilot to go through. So he adhered to the city of Kingston. And what happened? The council voted unanimously for this project. With that excuse, the pilot went through. Now, what was said to the newspapers that we would have more control. Well, you do have more control over it, because the county right now has revamped their whole philosophy on the IDA. They refuse to give out pilots for municipality, for multiple dwellings. But the Third Ward Alderman says we would have more control. But in their new revised bylaws, they are compelled to contact the municipality in which they are granting these pilots. So I don't see the necessary thing to create your own IDA unless it's for a reason to give out pilots to certain projects here in Kingston that can't move forward without them, like the Kingstonian project, or the Arms House, or perhaps the Irish Cultural Center, that you're going to be able to give out pilots to your friends. Now, you're double laying the government. The county already gives out IDAs, and they're compelled to engage the municipalities that these pilots are granted in. So what is the necessary reason for you to create an IDA other than to give out a pilot to your friends and cronies? Let me go on. Okay? I have a document here that was circulated, dropped in the mail by our Third Ward Alderman in January. Okay? Taking credit for numerous achievements, winning the $10 million grant. I don't think he did that. Right? Earning $30 million in major grants and infrastructure and quality of life improvements. These grants, nobody tells you these grants are matching grants. Oh, we got $30 million worth of grants. What's it costing? Okay? Receiving over $250 million in proposed development. He's not the president. He's not the mayor. He's taking credit for all of this. Okay? Adding a park in Midtown at no taxpayers' cost. We're going to have to maintain that park, that linear park. I don't know where it is. I think it's down on Down Street somewhere. It says linear park. I don't know where this here park in Midtown is. Okay? Establishing the Kingston Land Bank. That Kingston Land Bank was established a long time ago. Okay? It will move forward. Fine. Everybody's happy about that. But he didn't establish this. He's here. Okay? Let me go on. Okay? Reducing the tax rate for the past 4 years. He doesn't even know how long he's been here. He's been here 3 years. So how can he be reducing the tax rate in 4 years? And you raise the taxes because the budget has gone up $1 million a year under this mayor's tenure. And how can you say, pay for it, if you don't raise taxes? Oh, well, you didn't raise your taxes, we lowered the rate. But you sent your assessor out to sneak in the back door in the middle of the night to reassess people at an artificial assessment. We get no exposure from fake news over there. They belong to you. Okay? I'm not going to miss nothing tonight. Okay? I'm going to go on. Eliminated construction noise after hours. When he let Central Hudson close Washington Avenue from the beginning of the project to the end of the project at 6 o'clock in the morning, in rush hour. This is all his ward. 6 o'clock in the morning, they got 3 detours on Washington Avenue for several months. And they made a washboard out of Washington Avenue, needless to say. Okay? Ensuring the safety and infrastructure for projects for residents. I don't know what that means, okay? It's just fluff. It's campaign fodder, okay? Okay? Creating a comprehensive traffic safety plan for the city. He created a comprehensive safety plan? Unbelievable. Okay? I've come here numerous times and said the same thing over. Oh, they build a sidewalk right to your door. Okay? Hope Arms House builds a sidewalk right to your door. Okay? How's that? You're ready to smile. Okay? He turned over. Okay? The reasoning for a photo ID, let me go over there, is reasoning, it will create an economic stimulus for the city of Kingston. What are they going to get, 10% discount at Nico's? Huh? Top to bottom, 10%? These people don't shop there. It's all nonsense. They create a bank account. I don't know what bank account they can open because you need a social security number to open up a bank account with any interest. You can't just show them a photo ID and open up a bank account, okay? All of this snake oil salesman initiation that he does. Snake oil salesman is what he is. Never mind, your chairman of your finance committee thinks no financial impact doesn't cost anything. If you're paying something, there's a financial impact. Because you say there's no financial impact, but money's going out. And I told you about when he asked our controller, I won't mention his name, how he attributed an extra $2 million in the fund balance. All of a sudden it appeared in the fund balance. Where did it come from? Our financial wizard of the finance committee asked this question to our controller. And you know what his answer was? Because of the fiscal responsibility of the departments of the city, that's why we have $2.5 million extra. I don't buy that. I told you that the last time. I don't buy it when the Parks Department was over $160,000 or $80,000 in the hole. The city clerk's office was $160,000 in the hole. The police department had to come and ask for money to buy cars. I'm going to come here every month. And I'm going to continue to say the same thing and hammer away at the same subjects. You cook up the budgets. Every year, we didn't raise the taxes. In fact, we lowered, but you did raise the taxes. And your budget has to pay for a $41 million, when he came here, it was a $40 million budget. A year later, a $41 million budget, $42 million. Now it's a $44 million budget. You don't pay for that without raising taxes. Impossible. You're lying to the people of Kingston. You all should be removed from office for breaking your oath of office. Because the first things you say, you would uphold the Constitution of the United States. And you created a sanctuary city. And I tell you that I never saw an MS-13 member before in Kingston, or a Latin king. But since you created Sanctuary City, I've seen them not once, but more than numerous occasions. Okay? I am so disappointed in this administration, it's frustrating. And I intend to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Marion Parker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marianne Parker. I live at 14 Belvedere Street in Kingston, New York. I have two problems. First of all, I'm totally opposed to the mayor putting a playground in Midtown Kingston where he proposes to put it. I went to the planning board today. I found out why he wants to do it, and I understand that he wants to correct the road going over from Broadway to Grand Street and making it smooth. My objection to it is, as a mother and a grandmother, there's 3 lanes of traffic flowing through there. Who puts a playground where there's 3 lanes of traffic? Even he admits himself that there was 29 car accidents there. I wish that he would think about that and reconsider it. Maybe partnership and work with the person, whoever owns the property. We're not being told who it is. Last time I knew, it was $365,000 in assessment, and now he says in the paper that it's $400,000 that he'd have to pay, and another $25,000 to take it down. Well, when Jimmy Satile and T.R. Gallo were here, they would work with the property owner, and they would say, okay, let's get the property taken down first. We'll raise the property, and then we'll put it on the market, and then we'll see how much we can profit from it. But they didn't do what he's doing. He wants to buy the property for $400,000. Has he even asked the taxpayers how they feel about that? No, he just wants to put a park in there. And by the way, there is a park on Van Buren Street right now. And I've come here before because the King's Inn was torn down by the Army Corps engineers under the leadership of Jimmy Satile. And at that time, we proposed a park be put there because it's right next to that building. And he talks about honoring somebody. He could honor the homeless children who lived at the King's Inn and have all grown up now. And they look and they don't see that homeless shelter because Jimmy Satile and I said, no way, were they going to have to return to this area and see where they had to live when they were homeless. So the bottom line is, I think it would be a great place to put a park where the homeless shelter was, to show those kids that we've rised above poverty, we've rose above a lot, and we've accomplished a lot. And if you do that, what ends up happening is there's 14,000 square foot of property there, okay? So you can run other things back in there as well. But the good thing about that is you have Rupco coming onto Cedar Street, okay? They wouldn't have to build a playground. You have the Salvation Army right there, right? You could actually have fundraisers in the Salvation Army building. You could run them through there, because it runs right around to there, and then it runs Cedar Street over to where Rupco is building a complex. And you're going to have children in the Rupco complex. So why not build a playground right where the King's Inn was? You don't have to build a great big huge playground, but a playground to show the kids that the homeless shelter is now gone. There is one on Thomas Street still. We're trying to help as many people as we can, I understand that. But the bottom line is, the mayor needs to know there's other places besides a 3-way traffic intersection to put a park in. I think with 29 accidents occurring there, I think you're going to have more problems, and you're going to either have to put a fence all around it to keep the children secure. You got the Mallard building across the street. You got historic buildings over there too. So why don't you work on getting somebody in there who will build another building in there and put it back on the tax rolls rather than build a park and take it off the tax rolls? Makes no sense to me, but I'm not here all the time. The other thing I'd like to say to you is we have a problem on Down Street in Kingston. The mayor is very much aware of it. Public safety, I came to last night. Mr. Shabbat and Rita Worthington were very nice to me. It's on the agenda next month. But I'm here because as of today, I found out Central Hudson is now going to put gas piping all along Down Street from Broadway to Belvedere Street. And I want to make them aware of it because we already have all the loading trucks coming in and they're piling in there. We can't, once in a while, a fire truck can't get through. We have Aura Place right there. They're parking where the rail trail is supposed to be. There's a fire hydrant there, but they're parking there. They're taking over the whole area. And, you know, even the snow removal gentleman issued tickets to everybody because there's extremely too much parking in there. The Neon Lights was supposed to come in and be a coffee shop. Now they're running other programs out of there, exercise programs and stuff. More people coming in. Or Place is supposed to be one road for people going in there who live there. Now people are parking the other side of the road there. Emergency vehicles will not be able to get into the rail trail or there because everything is being blocked off. But that's not the biggest problem. You have 2 mosques over there, so on Fridays, it's like a nightmare. You can't get in and out of that street even if you try. We had a car accident there. I was visiting Matt Ryan's house, and there's a car accident there, and the car actually went up into his tree in front of his house, and it totaled out the girl next door. She got very little for it because the boy didn't have a driver's license and wasn't supposed to be driving the car. But the car went right up into the tree. The big tree, thank God the tree was there, it would have landed in the rail trail. And then this past Friday, I was coming home from shopping on Belvedere Street, because they're parking there now too. And the gentleman said he was going to mosque, and he had to get going, he was in a rush. He threw his door open. When he threw his door open, a young teenage boy came by, and he took the whole side of his car, his mirror and everything off. This is what's happening. It's a 1-block nightmare. And then in addition to that, we have the double domino trailers, thinking because they don't want to go to Trimper, because Trimper's falling apart at the corner of Trimper and Elmendorf. And everybody calls, by the way, Elmendorf and Buren Street too now, because that's what it's turned into, basically. It's a big problem area with sex offenders and everything else living there. But that's okay, we keep track of them. It's not a problem for us, because we all keep informed with each other. But the bottom line is, these big trucks are coming through, and they're trying to find shortcuts to go through. So not only is Albany Avenue homeowners complaining about cracks, I've lived in my house 46 years, and I'm having to paint every room in the house and redo it. And it's all because the truck traffic is not supposed to be going through, but it is. And when it goes through, it gets to the Elmendorf Street hump, which doesn't have the weight for it either, but nobody cares. They park on both sides of the Elmendorf Street hump, which is in the charter that they're not supposed to, okay? And then when they go over that hump, they go up and they hook and they go down the hump so that they can get the light. But now, because of the roundabout coming in, they're cutting through and they're trying to find the quickest shortcut to get out of here. So basically, our infrastructure's falling apart. And why? Because of what's going on with the roundabout and everything. I understand a little bit of it, but I started documenting it, and I have numerous pictures. And I can't wait to put cameras in my house because I really want to score big on this one, just to show the mayor that things may be good from the top up, but from the bottom down, the infrastructure's falling apart. Central Hudson's coming in to put the piping from Broadway to Belvedere, but on both sides of the street. So it's going to be interesting, Mr. Shabbat. I left you a message today. It's going to get very interesting because it's an accident waiting to happen, and there's also a school bus stop at the corner of Belvedere Street and Down Street. And it's a snow emergency route, so you've got to deal with, you know, the fluctuation of the traffic when it snows. But I'm not going to be here this summer. Do I care? Yes, I definitely do care, because I love the children in my neighborhood. I don't want to see anything happen to anybody. But because they're having to park so tight together, I can see the kids running in between the cars. You can't blame the children. I'm a Midtown grow-up kid. I mean, we flipped the fences over at the library. We got hit by taxi cabs when we were playing Lassoon. We loved living in Midtown. It was the best place you'd want to live. But the bottom line is, we have to consider the public safety of the people who live in the city of Kingston. And I'm sorry, but I totally disagree with him putting a park at an intersection where there's 3 lanes of flow traffic. And even if he does correct it by cutting a piece of pie, like Sue Cahill said today, to straighten that out, Grand Street, guess what? When they come across there to go Grand Street, they're going to fly. They're not going to take their time going slow, because they're going to fly to get over to Foxhall and get the heck out of town. They're going to find the fastest shortcut they can find, because when the roundabout starts coming in, nobody's going to want to be up in that area up there. So they're going to use Elmendorf, they're going to use Belvedere, and they're getting out of here. And they're going out so they can go out to the mall area. They're not going to be in Kingston. So I wish that he would reconsider his plan for that playground being put there because of the safety of the children in the area. I know I'm venting a lot with you tonight, but I truly do care about the Kingston area. And the people of the city of Kingston, and the taxpayers, are the ones who pay the taxes and who actually live here. They're the ones who should have the final say in these projects that are going on. I mean, it's nice that people come from out of town. The one gentleman, the one about the PT boats, it was just on Channel 10 that they found someone who was in World War II, and they're bringing him back to Albany so he can be properly buried up in Albany. And he was there when Pearl Harbor. To me, I love history, so to me that was interesting. And Kingston is a gold mine for the PT boats. I think they're wonderful to have because they open up conversation, and a conversation's good, as well as the fire station. I'm thrilled about Wiltwyck. I hope that you support that effort because the firefighters of the city of Kingston, actually, I'm going to go real quick with you, but a tragedy occurred on Down Street. And it's in Ed Ford's book, Streets and Why They're Named That. And it was right at Aura Place. They had gone to a fire over at Kaufman's, it was at the time. It's now Boyce Brothers, but it was Kaufman's. And they were coming around and going back, and it was pouring raining. And the train came, and it flipped the fire truck over. 3 of the firemen died, and 1 did live for a while. But I remember that story when they talked about the police officer in front of City Hall. But that is right where all this traffic flow is happening as well. So that was a tragedy that occurred, and it was very sad, and it was firemen involved in that one. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want to be any more long-winded, but I'm like a history book in my head, and I just want to convey to you that public safety is very important to me in the city of Kingston, and I thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Ellen DeFalco.
Thank you for the opportunity, Council President, Aldermen, members of the press, and public. With jubilation, I read a press release that was posted on the city's webpage, which announced that the Common Council meetings will be video recorded and viewed on a new Kingston Live page. This new format will allow citizens to follow the actions and proceedings of council meetings. Interesting that this administration will take steps to video record certain meetings, but leave the public in the dark by not posting agendas and minutes of the 24 and still counting committees listed under Government and Services, meetings, minutes, and audio-video recordings on the web page. There are some committees that have not documented their agendas or minutes, and most of these are incomplete and have not offered any reports since 2017. You can't research the progress of these committees when nothing's posted. So this new enhancement for open, transparent government is short-sighted and misplaced because, according to the Office of Open Government under Public Officers Law, Article 7, Open Meetings Law, Section 106 under minutes, minutes shall be taken at all open meetings of a public body which shall consist of a record or summary of all motions, proposals, resolutions, and any other matter formally voted upon and the vote thereon. Also, the minutes of these meetings of all public bodies shall be available to the public in accordance with the provisions of the Freedom of Information Law within 2 weeks from the date of such meeting. So now, with that said, this administration has been in violation of the Open Meetings Law for years. In fact, I previously foiled the Freedom of Information Officer for minutes involving hearings and other meetings posted on the city's webpage. And my response I got was, the items requested do not exist, and therefore we are unable to provide them at this time. Thank you very much. So, in short, to video record some meetings is still in violation of the Open Meetings Law, and steps should be taken to correct this oversight and gross negligence. Further, on a final note, it would behoove this administration to accommodate the seniors, the shut-ins, and residents who don't have a computer, can't view these videos online. Send the videos to the town of Esopus to be uploaded to their carousel so the recordings can be viewed continuously on Channel 23 all month long, like the county legislature meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Rose Quinn.
Good evening. My name is Rose Quinn. I live on 78 Down Street. I'm here tonight to speak to you in support of the merger between the Kingston City Bus and the UCAT bus. Quickly, I'd just like to make 3 points about that. I am a bus commuter, primarily ride the UCAT bus. I work at SUNY Ulster. I live in Kingston, and even though I live in Kingston, I have not once ever taken a Kingston City bus. And I would say the main reason that I haven't done that is that there is no system by which I can easily look up where these buses are connected. It's convoluted and confusing for me as a commuter to take just that extra step to try and link up two separate lines. So for me as a commuter, I may actually, even though I love walking the Down Street Trail and I don't mind getting to the hub, I would, on a cold morning, appreciate the ability to jump onto a Kingston bus that goes right past my door on Down Street and be able to go right to the plaza. Another point that I would like to make about the merger and the possible benefit is, as a counselor, when I worked for Ulster BOCES, one of my jobs was actually to sit with clients and try and figure out how they were going to get back and forth from their jobs and from their lives and to classes. And one of the things that we found out really quickly was that was incredibly difficult because the system was really hard to decipher. Because not only was it hard to decipher when the UCAT schedules were going to work, but when you added that extra layer of, well, now you're in the city of Kingston and you have to link up to this other bus, it made it that much more confusing. I would say 9 out of 10 times my students would be so frustrated that they would give up on the idea of actually taking a bus and they would try and figure out some other way. So, to streamline the process of commuting, to me it just makes perfect sense to have everything linked up together. The last point that I would like to make as a regular commuter on these buses is what I see before my eyes all the time is that the more of these buses you run, the more people you're going to get on these buses. I have yet to have been on a UCAT bus that was an empty bus. And I was riding the bus pretty regularly when I lived in Mewarsing, from Mewarsing to Kingston, and now from where I go from Kingston to SUNY Ulster. These buses always have people on them. And the one thing that holds me back some mornings that I can't commute is I look at the schedule and I go, I've got to wait 2 hours for the next bus. So it doesn't make any sense. And those mornings, sometimes I'll opt to take my car. And I would rather not. I would rather take the bus. Given the opportunity, I would always rather take a bus. But the bus has to come at a regular time, and it's got to come at a predictable time. So with increased accessibility, with increased schedules, with increased buses, I understand that now the buses may be coming at a half-an-hour interval as opposed to an hour interval. I would predict that when that happens, you'll see more people on that bus. because the more opportunity you have to actually physically get on the bus, the more you're going to have people using these buses. So, and I'm going to say good night to you. I think I've said enough, but I strongly, strongly support this measure. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mary Jallo.
Good evening, and thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of Ulster BOCES. Locations, we have locations at various places around, but it's specifically Port Ewan, Lake Katrine, and the locations in downtown Poughkeepsie, Kingston, where we run classes. And I'm the director of the Adult Education Program and the interim director for Career and Technical Education and Special Education. And I'd like to speak specifically on behalf of our adult education students and support for the unified bus system. Our students struggle. They're coming to us to take classes. They may be taking high school equivalency classes. They may be taking English as second language, or be training in a certain area of career that will help them become self-sufficient and become tax-paying members of our community. We do everything that we can to try to make that possible for them to be successful. It's extremely difficult when they are struggling with transportation. It's extremely difficult when they have to try to figure out how to combine various schedules of two different systems and make it happen to get to a class on time. And because we're focusing on employability skills, we really emphasize work readiness, and part of work readiness is timeliness. So in our fields, especially the healthcare fields, that's a big area of emphasis. If you can't be in class on time, it really impacts your ability to actually continue with that area of training, because when you're expected to go to work in a healthcare facility, you have to be on time. Sometimes it's beyond the ability of our students, no matter what they do. If they miss a connection, or if there's a late bus coming at one point and they miss the next one, there's no way they can get to where they need to in a timely manner. So having a unified system would hopefully take care of some of that unevenness in scheduling and allow people to have a consistent method to look at and be able to figure out how they're going to get from A to B and be able to achieve their goals for self-sufficiency. I've also seen a lot of times I have people who have come to a class and they have to sit for 2 hours in our lobby because the next bus isn't coming for another 2 hours. Then they go to an area where they have to make a transit, and then they spend another hour, hour and a half until they get home. I have to admit, I would be incredibly discouraged at that point. I would not want to be continuing myself. But yet we want to do everything we possibly can to help move people to self-sufficiency. And we can't do that unless we help them with the basic needs that they have. One is clearly related to transportation. I've been working at BOCES for 30 years now, almost 30 years. I'll soon be 30 years. And I have to say that I have heard the discussion of transportation over and over and over again as being a need in our area. So I give that support on behalf of our students and on behalf of our agency for that unified system. It also will help not trying, I have my staff sometimes looking at one schedule, another schedule, trying to figure out, and then making a phone call, trying to get somebody on a line to say how exactly can this student get from A to B when they're having difficulty figuring that out. So it would save us some time as well in terms of the work we do with our students. I've also seen a couple of other things happen over the years, and this is not directly related to our work, but something for consideration in a transportation system. I've seen a huge influx, as we all have in the Kingston area, of people moving up from New York City in the tech and startup industry and in the arts. And I have to tell you, New York City, I have 3 kids living in the city. They don't have vehicles. They're used to a very robust transportation system. Their expectation is that they can use public transportation. This is a group that you want to capture, that you want to have part of your system, to be a customer of your public transportation system. Another demographic figure that we have here, if we look statistically, we are having an aging population, but yet a very independent aging population. People who want to and live on their own and are very vibrantly involved in the community, but may want to make the decision to not drive at night or not drive when it's raining. And having an option to be able to take public transportation is another element of support as our demographics are changing within this county. Thank you very much. I have written remarks that summarize what I've said. If anybody's taking anything, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Liam Khan.
Good evening. My name is Liam Khan. I'm a newly minted resident of Kingston at 56 of Bruin Street. I spent the last 5 years in Washington, D.C., and I was born and raised in Woodstock, so not that far from home. I've moved to Kingston just at the start of this year, and I am speaking in favor of the consolidation of the bus system. Currently, as I understand, the city bus system has declining user rates. I will agree with the previous comment that was made that the bus routes are difficult to understand. I've seen the listings of the times that the bus can pick you up myself. They are very difficult to understand. And UCAD, when I was a student at SUNY Ulster, UCAD is how many of us got to school. That was how kids from all over Ulster County were able to get from point A to point B and attend classes at SUNY Ulster, and it was an incredibly effective system. It was on time, we knew where it would go, and it also had a wide range of routes. And in regard to the routes, as I understand, they've also haven't changed since the early 2000s. I moved home because I believed in investing in my community. I believed in being part of my community, not staying away, coming back and reinvesting where I grew up. And part of, for people my age, many of us work from home. I work completely remotely. I do not need to go into an office, which is a nice perk, but when I need to get around, I did live in a big city for 5 years, and Kingston is growing, and a robust public transportation system is something that if you invest in, you're going to see the dividends return tenfold. So I'm entirely, wholeheartedly in support of this. I'd also like to just remind the council that if the routes are not to your liking, you can change them, and they go through a federal approval process with the Department of Transportation. So I look forward to this consolidation, and I also look forward to seeing a more robust, more active, not every hour, maybe every 30 minutes bus system for the city of Kingston. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this time? Seeing no one else, I now declare the public speaking portion of this meeting closed. We will now go to report of committees.
Oh, yeah. I got to speak to chair. Let's bring the WD-40 next time.
I'm sorry, what's that, Rita? 2-minute break? Okay. We got a request for a 2-minute break, so we'll take a slight recess.
Thank you. Oh, my goodness.
It's one thing I'll...
No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I didn't know there was 10. I thought there was like 3. Next time. Just keep track.
I just thought maybe you just
And this is what I'm talking about.
Randy?
Yeah.
Tomorrow's at 6 or 6:30?
6:30. Yeah, all the other meetings. I don't know why we did the first one at 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be there.
I think it might have even been a typo, but whatever.
Do you have enough speakers already?
I think so. It'd be nice to have somebody who was. Are you going to be there tomorrow night? Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, I think there'll be some good people. A couple of good stories. Yeah. Yes. We don't have somebody who's like a long-time Kingstonian who's owned their home for 30 years, so we may just ask Steve to sit on the other side of the table. But there's some other good stories. What? At least 4. Yeah. And then if there's time at the end and there's people who are there who want to speak, I think we'll open up the floor if there's time.
Nice set.
Yeah.
Could the aldermen please take their seats? Okay, it's missing. Nobody. Okay, the council meeting is now back in session. We go to claims and communications. Hearing no communications, they'll be on file at the clerk's office. Anybody wishing to check them? Can I get a motion to dispense with the second reading of the general bills and pay same?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The bills are paid, 8-0. We now go to report of committees. Resolution number 25.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending modifications to the 2019 Parks and Recreation budget.
On the question. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now go to resolution number 26.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modification to the 2018 sewer budget.
On the question. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 27.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for a 2018 budgetary transfer to cover the general fund costs associated with retroactive pay paid to CSEA and non-aligned employees as previously approved by the Common Council.
On the question. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 28.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a transfer from fund balance for the purpose of acquiring short-term capital assets.
On the question. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 29.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2018 Planning Department budget.
On the question. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 30.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2018 general fund budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 30. 31? Okay, 31, sorry.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2018 general fund budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 32.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2018 general fund budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 33.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2019 Planning Department budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 34.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2019 Planning Department budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 35.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds in the first instance for the New York State DEC Municipal Waste Reduction and Recycling Grant and allocating funds for such purpose.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 36.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2019 Parks and Recreation budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 37.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing adopting a bond ordinance in the sum of $560,000 to fund improvements at the Volunteer Firemen's Hall and Museum.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 38.
Resolution number 38 of 2019, a bond ordinance in and for the City of Kingston, Ulster County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $560,000 and authorizing the issuance of $560,000 bonds of said city to pay the cost thereof.
This would be long roll.
Okay. Alderman,
Majority vote needed. Go ahead.
Alderman Coop,
Yes.
Alderman Scott Childress,
Aye.
Alderman Worthington,
Yes.
Alderman Carey,
Excused.
Alderman Davis,
Yes.
Alderman O'Reilly,
Yes.
Alderman Shabbat,
Yes.
Alderman Schott, and Alderman Ventura Morel.
Aye.
The bond is adopted, 8-1. We now move to resolution number 39. Congratulations, by the way.
Chairman,
Alderman Coop.
sorry, 8-1?
Yeah, we're missing a vote, which would be abstained, no. It's not in the front.
Absentee is a negative vote.
Right, it's not a positive.
Okay.
Right. Congratulations, by the way. Good luck.
So I can just pull this off.
Resolution number 39.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds in the first instance for the Green Innovation Grant Number CFA 82859 from the Environmental Facilities Corporation for the Midtown Parking Lots Project.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 40.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing adopting a bond ordinance in the sum of $135,000 for the Midtown Parking Lots Improvement Project.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 41. The bond ordinance, long roll, majority needed.
A bond ordinance authorizing design and construction costs in connection with the Midtown Parking Lots Improvement Project in and for the City of Kingston, Ulster County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $135,000, and authorizing the issuance of $135,000 bonds of said city to pay the cost thereof.
Long roll.
Long roll. Alderman Scott Childress.
Aye.
Alderman Worthington.
Yes.
Alderman Carey.
Excused.
Alderman Davis.
Yes.
Alderman O'Reilly.
Yes.
Alderman Shabbat.
Yes.
Alderman Schott.
Aye.
Alderman Ventura Morel.
Aye.
Alderman Coop.
Yes.
The bond is adopted, 8-1. We now move on to resolution number 42.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds in the first instance for the Climate Smart Communities grant from the New York State Department of DEC for the safe and accessible Flatbush and Foxhall Avenue project.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 43.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing adopting a bond ordinance in the sum of $27,470 for additional design costs for the Kingston Waterfront Resiliency Project.
On the question? Alderman Shabbat.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take the opportunity just to say how happy I am that we're even discussing this. I think this project is really critical to both the development of the waterfront and the stabilization of the shoreline. It's going to bring more opportunity for development down there. We've already had numerous opportunities to dock larger vessels down there, tour boats, whatever. We can't do it right now without this work being done. Larger vessels mean tourists in, means revenue, bring more people to the area. I think it's a good thing. We've been talking about this for quite a while. I'm really happy to see this coming forward. I think it's a really good development for the waterfront. Thank you.
Anyone else on the question before I call for the vote? Hearing no one else, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 44.
Bond ordinance dated March 5th, 2019, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of an additional $27,470 bonds for the City of Kingston, Ulster County, New York, to pay engineering and design costs in connection with waterfront resiliency and shoreline improvements project in and for said city. Long roll.
Long roll, majority needed.
Alderman Worthington.
Yes.
Alderman Carey.
Excused.
Alderman Davis.
Yes.
Alderman O'Reilly.
Yes.
Alderman Shabbat.
Yes.
Alderman Schott. Alderman Ventura Morel.
Aye.
Alderman Coop.
Yes.
And Alderman Scott Childress.
Aye.
The bond is adopted, 8-1. We now move to resolution number 45.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds in the first instance for the Climate Smart Communities grant from New York State DEC for pedestrian and bicycle master plan.
On the question, Alderman Childress. Oh, it's not working, I'm sorry. Anybody?
I'm proud to support this piece of legislation. This is a crucial part of a much larger plan that we have working. This particular part is going to help us really think about how to improve transportation for both walkers in the city as well as bikers. This will help us think about the transportation conditions for all users, reduce vehicle emissions and congestion, as well as support a culture of health in general in the city. This fits in very nicely with the development of all kinds of infrastructure we're developing, particularly the Green Line, ways for people to walk through the city, the Better Broadway project, which is going to help traffic move better through the city and also provide a nice bike path, other bike plans in the city. All of these things are helping us to develop a much more healthy place to live that I think will be great for those who live here as well as for those who are thinking about moving to our wonderful community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no one else, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now go to resolution number 46.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing adopting a bond ordinance in the sum of $1,400 for additional funding for the Tofskill Creek drainage and design.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution adopted 8-0. We now go to resolution number 47, another bond ordinance.
Bond ordinance dated March 5th, 2019, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of an additional $1,400 bond of the City of Kingston, Ulster County, New York, to pay engineering and design costs in connection with the Tofskill Creek Drainage Analysis Project in and for said city. Long roll.
Long roll.
Alderman Carey.
Excused.
Alderman Davis.
Yes.
Alderman O'Reilly.
Yes.
Alderman Shabbat.
Yes.
Alderman Schott. Alderman Ventura Morel.
Aye.
Alderman Coop.
Yes.
Alderman Scott Childress. Alderman Worthington.
Resolution is adopted, 8-1. We now go to resolution number 48.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds in the first instance for the Climate Smart Communities Grant number DEC 01-C00598GG-350000 from the Department of Environmental Conservation for the Franklin Street Complete Streets project.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 49.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing adopting a bond ordinance in the sum of $1,500,000 for the purpose of appropriating funds to complete the Franklin Street Complete Streets and Sidewalks Restoration Project.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 50. Long roll.
Bond ordinance dated March 5th, 2019, an ordinance authorizing design and construction costs in connection with the Franklin Street Complete Streets and Sidewalk Restoration Project in and for the City of Kingston, Ulster County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $1,500,000 and authorizing the issuance of $1,500,000 bond of said city to pay the cost thereof. Long roll.
Long roll, I'm sorry.
Alderman Davis.
Yes.
Alderman O'Reilly.
Yes.
Alderman Shabbat.
Yes.
Alderman Schott. Alderman Ventura Morel.
Aye.
Alderman Coop.
Yes.
Alderman Scott Childress. Alderman Worthington. Yes. Alderman Carey.
Excused. The resolution is adopted, 8-1. We now move to resolution number 51.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, approving hiring of RBT CPAs as the city's auditor for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018 and December 31st, 2019.
On the question, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 52.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending modifications to the 2019 city clerk's budget.
On the question, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 53.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the dissolution of City Bus Transit Service and approving the entering into an agreement with Ulster County to provide expanded transit service in the City of Kingston and appropriation of funds therefor.
On the question, Alderman Childress.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can understand the concerns of those who look at the proposed changes and are worried about them. Change is always difficult, but I'd like to point out that these are just proposed changes. We shouldn't talk about or consider the merger of the two systems solely based on a set of proposals about changing routes. I think that the advantages of this merger far outweigh any concerns we might have about some proposed changes. For example, some of the mergers include significant cost savings to the City of Kingston. This will be wonderful for our taxpayers, while at the same time it's going to be a real boon to the city in terms of improved services. It'll at least double the rate of service for our bus riders. Right now, most bus riders in town have to wait an hour between buses, and at lunchtime, sometimes as much as 2 hours. With a merged system, there will be a bus every 30 minutes, all through the day. We also will see an increase in the number of residents riding, because once we have better service, we'll have more people interested in riding the buses than do now. We'll see an integration of the city and county bus routes within the city. One of the things that happens now is there are, in fact, county buses that run through the city. If the county is managing both systems, integrating them into one, we'll see an integrated set of schedules so that the folks that we heard about earlier won't have so much difficulty trying to figure out how to get from place to place. Further improvements include Wi-Fi on all the buses. This is becoming an absolute essential aspect of our lives, being able to connect to the web as we're moving around in our daily life. There will also be GPS tracking of the buses. Right now, city riders cannot know where the buses are and if they've missed a bus. Sometimes a bus might come early, somebody might be right on time, but have missed a bus. And if that's the case with their current schedule, they end up waiting at least an hour for the next bus to come. But with the GPS tracking of buses, they can see where the next bus is and be sure to be at their stop on time. There will also be smoother trips when crossing between city and county. I think all of this means that what we're really talking about here is improved ridership, improved experience for all of those who do ride, as well as increasing the possibility that people in Kingston and Ulster County will take public transportation rather than private automobiles, thereby improving the environment of our county. For all of these reasons, I will be voting yes for this merger.
Thank you. Alderman Davis. Then Alderman Shabbat.
Thank you, Mr. President. After researching some more information, because I was undecided yesterday during caucus, I would like to respond to some previous questions that came up. If I currently have the bus service now, will it continue? Yes. Those who have service now will continue to have service after the merger. And yes, UCAT will pick up inside Stuyvesant and Colonial Gardens. However, riders in some former bus routes may not get picked up in a single location, but will continue to have access to the bus system by contacting demand response service. This will allow riders to get to their destinations faster and more efficient, which has been repeatedly said. If the bus merger is the bus merger going to add new routes? The merger is not going to add new routes at this time. However, UCA has promised that they will listen to, and hold meetings for 5 months or 6 months regarding feedback about ridership service. It is during this time that the riders, our constituents, have the opportunity to voice their concerns, issues, so they can be thoroughly discussed. Last night during caucus, the question was raised if the city was letting its bus system go because it doesn't want to deal with it anymore. I can only speak for myself, but I'm voting yes for this resolution, not because I think the city doesn't want to deal with the city bus system, but I'm voting yes because I think we have an opportunity here to have shared service between the county and city. The merger of the two bus systems will increase ridership, for example, by offering services to Poughkeepsie and Newburgh. Improving services, for example, by adding electric buses to the fleet. Improving air quality and faster and more efficient, and by reducing costs. These are some of the reasons why I'm going to be voting yes for this resolution. Thank you.
Alderman Shabbat.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really can't add much to what these two fine gentlemen have said about the pluses. And all things considered, if everything was equal, I'd love to have the city maintain it. But quite frankly, as they pointed out, I also think it makes more sense to let the county run this. You know, the costs associated with it, we operate at a loss every year for it. The county will have more staff. The list goes on and on. What I do want to address is I've heard a certain skepticism in various places. I've had people roll my eyes when they say, well, what if we don't like this about it? You know, the county's not going to do anything about it. And I really can't buy into that. As I said last night, I worked for the county for 32 years. For the Department of Social Services, and everybody in that place, in the county building, we did everything imaginable to make life easier for our constituents. And our constituents here in the city are the same as the counties. I can see no reason that it would be beneficial to the county to not take care of those folks also. Just from past history, my 32 years, and afterwards, I've been gone 12 years, but I still see the same care and compassion for the citizens of this county, including the city of Kingston. So I really don't envision any changes. If people really want changes, I'm sure they are open to those suggestions. Thank you.
Before I call for the vote, is there anyone else that'd like to speak at this time?
Mr. President, I'd like to speak. Ulster County will surely do a great job running the buses as they do right now. They have a wonderful bus system. And our bus system is failing. One of the things we haven't talked about this whole time is what it would take to make our bus system better. We kept talking about giving it to the county, how that's going to be better. What about us sitting down and talking about what would make our bus system better? We live in the city of Kingston. These are our constituents. These are our neighbors who need rides. Aren't we the best ones to decide what routes they get? Aren't we the best ones? You know, there is a bus that comes down my street, and they're going to eliminate that. And it comes right through the middle of my ward, and they're going to eliminate that. And buses are only going to go around the outside of my ward now. So a lot of my constituents are going to lose some bus transportation availability in my ward. And I'm very concerned about that. And I wonder, why does that bus move? Why does that bus come down that street? Why does that bus come down the street if the county doesn't want to run it anymore? And you know why that bus comes down the street? Because some people in the city of Kingston decided that it was best for those people to have that bus. Because it is. They need that bus on that street. So we were able to do that in the city of Kingston once we give up that and give that to the county, as we heard last night. Mr. Doyle said, the bus routes are going to change. There is going to be less service in our city. There's not going to be more service in our city. And when I'm not talking about time. I'm talking about amount of stops and where they're going to stop, and in the neighborhoods where they're going to stop. So there is going to be less service as far as locations that people can get their buses at.
that are present now. So I do think that that's going to change, and from what I heard last night from the county, that will change without a doubt. People in my ward are going to hurt from that. You know, I was at the Miller School today, and I looked at a sign on the wall, and I saw a city label there, just like the one up behind the president here. And I looked at it closely, and it said, oh, that there's a science fair going on out at the Miller School. And the city of Kingston is sponsoring it, and what the city of Kingston is going to do is they're going to run a bus from the Boys and Girls Club on a night where the science fair is taking place out at the school, and the city of Kingston is going to run one of their buses out to the science fair. Are we going to be able to do those kind of niceties for our people? Are we going to be able to put a bus where we want to put a bus? Are we going to be able to transport our citizens, our constituents, when we want them to be transported, when we need them to be transported, when our children need to be transported, or are we going to leave that up to another entity? And that's what's going to happen when we give up our bus system. We're going to be leaving this to another entity. I urge you to consider this when you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Alderman Schott, and then Alderman Cope.
Mr. President, is this working? Thank you. I'd just like to thank all my colleagues for the robust conversation. This came out of finance twice and then out of laws and rules. And I think there's a lot of really great questions that were asked and answered. And one point I'd just like to say is just I encourage everybody, all of us, to stay involved in the process. I am a yes vote on this, and I'd like to see the merger happen. Because I think there's a lot, the benefits outweigh the negatives, but I think it's important for us as elected officials as we move forward to stay involved. We pay attention to the routes that are proposed. We listen to our constituents, and this does not need to be the end of our conversation on this. Thank you.
Alderman Cope.
Thank you, Mr. President. This consolidation just makes so much sense from the standpoint of service and financial considerations. I'm not going to enumerate all these as my colleagues have had. I'll just point out, anytime you have a project of this magnitude, it's a big one, things are going to go wrong. You're going to, oh, what if, so we forgot about this, it's not working. We have a mechanism to fix those things, and we will fix those things. This will work for the benefits of the county and the city of Kingston, which is a large part of the county of Ulster. So I'm definitely in favor of this yes vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else before I call for the vote? Seeing no one else, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-1. We now move on to resolution number 54.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the City of Kingston Planning Board to act as lead agency for the Hutton Brickyard site plan.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 55.
An ordinance amending an ordinance in relation to traffic on the public streets of the City of Kingston, New York, removing 15-minute parking from 102 St. James Street.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move to resolution number 56.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending the appointment of David Niles to the Board of Assessment Review.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. We now move on to local law number 1.
Local law number 1 of 2019 of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, amending sections of the city code to reflect that all current references to the Building Safety Division of the Fire Department shall be changed to the Building Department, and all references to Fire Officer shall be changed to Building Safety Officer.
Okay, so this requires second reading and vote. On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, 8-0. That concludes the committee reports for this evening. Anyone before I call for a motion to adjourn? Alderman Shabbat?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to close the meeting in memory of Annalise Woodworth, recently passed away. Ms. Woodworth was born in Germany, moved in Kingston to marry her husband, George, in 1947. And not in 1947, but I worked with George, not that far back. Ms. Woodworth was a homemaker, loved to spend time with her family, leaves behind quite a large family, 4 children, including Sylvia and Dave Donaldson, county legislator, a long list of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Davis.
I'd like to close in memory of Gerard E. Boggs, also known around town as G. Boggs, who passed away at the age of 70, battling leukemia on February 12th. Gerard was born May 1st, 1948, Kingston High football star, running back, and a veteran of the U.S. Navy. And was employed in several jobs in Kingston. He was worked for Deet Stadium Security, and he was a coach out at Ulster County Community College, a volleyball coach. He coached and played in the Kingston City Softball League. He leaves behind his companions, Kathy Peck, and his 2 children, Christopher Boggs and Stacy Boggs. Thank you.
I just want to add to that. I also went to school with Gerard, and he was like a gentle giant, a great guy. And, we played in the park together, stayed over at our houses together, and he was a good guy. And he had a great sense of humor, and I'll miss him, especially when I go to Dallas and he's not sitting there and I can't talk to him.
Dallas.
So. Anyone else before I ask for a motion to adjourn?
On Broadway in Dallas.
Hearing no one else, can I get a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We hereby stand adjourned until the next regular scheduled meeting. Thank you very much.